Good morning. All right, friends, teacher voices, good morning. It is amazing to be with you here. Thank you, Douglas and Maggie, for welcoming us to this magnificent space, truly overflowing with the diversity of life. A few weeks ago, I was home in Brooklyn, and I told my kids that this year's summit is at the legendary San Diego Zoo. And then I told them that we were going to the Central Park Zoo as a consolation prize. But as the Reverend Mother says in The Sound of Music, when a door closes, somewhere a window opens. And we walked in, and there was a banner. And if the window didn't open for them, it opened for me, because the banner said, "One touch of nature makes the whole world kin." It's William Shakespeare writing in Troilus and Cressida. Most of us, we don't connect to nature nearly enough. But when we get the chance, like we do here, that's amazing. We did not pay for that. We're reminded of our interconnectivity, the deep yet hidden relationships to each other and to the world around us. And if we open ourselves up to those deep but sometimes hidden relationships and to the magic that is possible on days like today, then by the time we leave, colleagues can become friends and even kin. We saw Polona swoop overhead, and you could feel the magic of what is possible, an appreciation of this brilliant and surprising world that we share, which is good because the news is not good. The hottest 20 years on record have happened in the last 30. Income inequality is at Gatsby-like levels, and Starbucks downgraded its rewards points by 20%. We hear the news, and we can be easily overwhelmed by the magnitude of the persistence and the magnitude of our biggest challenges. It can feel as though nothing we do matters. But we are here because we have collectively committed to solving one of those big challenges: the chronic shortage of STEM teachers that has made it necessary to prepare no fewer than 100,000 by 2021. Whether it's climate change, food shortages, or economic inequality, almost all of the world's most pressing problems have STEM-based solutions. Yet only a tiny fraction of our nation's population has the necessary STEM skills, knowledge, and agency to even be at the table solving them. We know from our own experience and from reams of data coming out of labs like Raj Chetty's at Harvard that we're missing out on breakthrough innovations because the majority of our students miss out on excellent STEM teachers. Chetty calls those students lost Einsteins, people who could have had highly impactful innovations if they had just been given the opportunities that they deserved. We lose out on inventions from children born in low-income and middle-class families, he has found, from students of color and girls and kids from the South. So it'd probably be more accurate, if less catchy, to say that we've lost Einsteins and Lovelaces, Curies and Uhlenbecks, Ochoas, Wests, and Nakamuras. But we need everyone's creativity and brilliance and experience, everyone's onlyness, as Nilofer Merchant will share with us at the end of the day, if we're to solve our biggest challenges. Because the people who will cure cancer and dementia, the people who can desalinate water and renew our energy resources, the ones who might finally figure out how to predict weather and mitigate natural disasters, they're sitting in classrooms all over America right now, at this very moment. Whether they become the people who lead those breakthroughs will depend on us, and whether we provide them with 100,000 excellent STEM teachers and address the underlying challenges that have made the shortage in the first place. But how do we make headway on our most important challenges when they're so complex and tangled that we don't even know where to start? To begin, we need to understand the problem space. We need a full 360-degree view of the problem and to find ourselves on that map and in relation to everyone else. We need a map. Those of you who have been with us, maybe not like that one, but a map nonetheless. Those of you who have been on this journey with us know this part of the story because we wrote it together. So we looked for analogous examples, because how do you make a map of an education system with 4 to 5 million teachers, 100 million students? How do you make a map like that? So we looked for analogous examples across sectors, and as so often happens when we open up ourselves to nature, we found our kin. Researchers in the Pacific Northwest, trying to understand what saved tide pools in the Olympic Peninsula from being overtaken by mussels, mapped the ecosystem in the hopes that seeing all the connections, what eats what, would point them to insights for action that were otherwise hidden. And it turns out that starfish, those touch tank staples everywhere, seem not to move, only it turns out that they're the natural predator of mussels. And they were the key to keeping the tide pools healthy. If you could watch out for the starfish would take care of everything else. They called the starfish the Keystone species. And when they started to look, they found Keystone species exist in every ecosystem in the natural world. And so working with you and thousands of others, we transposed the approach from tide pools to STEM teaching. First, mapping all of the causes of the STEM teacher shortage, because you can't solve a problem you don't understand. And then identifying the highest leverage of them. This is what the STEM teaching ecosystem looks like. What we distill from thousands of insights is that the starfish in the STEM teaching system has many arms, kind of like a mutant starfish. Every one of the themes has at least one keystone species, one place where progress on that discrete challenge has a domino-like effect on getting and keeping great teachers, especially in STEM. We're calling those keystones catalysts, and they include opportunities for teachers to collaborate and to get professional development during the school day, school leaders who create positive work environments, elementary STEM expertise among teacher preparation faculty, and several others. You can see them all in the pocket-sized Grand Challenges book in your bag. That map reflects all of your perspectives, and wherever you work in the STEM teaching landscape, your work is represented. The map, it's beautiful, and it is powerful. But the map is also insufficient, both for STEM teaching and, it turns out, for coastal tide pools. When I shared the starfish story last year, I didn't know that since 2013, starfish have been dying out due to warming oceans caused by climate change. Back in 2013, when researchers first realized the starfish populations were in decline, their protectors came from a surprising place. A group of elementary students from Arkansas who had never seen the Pacific Ocean read a news report with their teacher, and the thought of the dying starfish moved them. They couldn't imagine a world without those bumpy, beautiful sea creatures. And so they banded together, and they raised $400. And they sent it to the researcher whose work was profiled in the article. She matched their $400, and that small investment rippled forward to become a massive effort to better understand the starfish decline and hopefully reverse it. Maps alone are insufficient. Knowing the keystone species alone is insufficient. Because to protect our keystone species and help our ecosystem thrive, we can't go it alone. Those students from Arkansas understood it, and so do each of you. Because what's true for our literal starfish is true for our metaphorical ones in teaching as well. The challenges we need to solve are multifaceted and tangled, so progress on any one challenge demands a network that can take action in a way that addresses the complexity. It's the only shot we have at making lasting change. Todd Kozine, another of today's lightning speakers at the end of the day, has said, the solitary genius who will save us with an aha moment and a miraculous solution, it's a myth. Instead, we must bring complex networks of humans to bear on our problems. 100K10 is such a network. We represent 280 organizations from every sector, likely and unlikely allies both, committed to one shared audacious goal. Nowhere else in the country does this diversity of organizations and their leaders come together to learn and collaborate. Multinational corporations, universities, schools and nonprofits, local, state, and federal agencies, science museums, foundations, and even a zoo. We work on every facet of STEM education, on every part of the teacher pipeline, in every grade from the littlest tots to those who are on the verge of adulthood. We disagree about many things, and sometimes sit on opposite sides of the negotiating table or compete for scarce resources. But in this space, with this shared purpose, we are powerfully aligned. And this past year, the network reached new heights. 484 of you engaged in the network. We fielded more than 215 collaborations. And you told us that because of 100K10, 85% of you learned something new, 70% tackled challenges you couldn't have done on your own, and 50% changed something about your work. Most networks, they look like this, with a majority unengaged and lurking. But this is us, with more of you actively leading the learning of the network than most networks have engaged at all. Networks like that don't happen by accident. The story of this network is one of hundreds of people contributing from your expertise, choosing to collaborate when you might have gone it alone, revealing a challenge when you might have kept quiet, sharing an idea as it emerged instead of holding your cards close. Today is a prime example. So many of you courageously stepped up to teach, and so many of you courageously stepped up to ask for support. In this network, as in life, we are all teachers, and we are all learners. I'm thrilled to announce that because of your commitments and collaboration, and in the face of historic declines in teacher preparation programs, this network has prepared more excellent STEM teachers this past year than in any year since we began. You all did it. In fact, since 2011, we've prepared more than 68,000 STEM teachers, and because of you, we are on track to reach that crazy 100,000 goal on time by 2021. In a time when it seems that we've lost the ability to solve our collective challenges, we are on the cusp of reaching the audacious goal we set out for ourselves. Today, we are, in fact, doing something that none of us could have done alone. With just under 3 years to go until the end of 2021, we're asking each one of you now to do 2 things. The first is to renew and strengthen your commitment to action toward our shared goal. When you do this, we're hoping you'll consider coordinating your commitments with others in the network, because lasting change requires us to work as a network not just today, but all the time. And we hope you'll consider the Keystone species, those places of highest leverage that, if addressed, can make the rest of the challenges easier to solve. If you're able to make choices about your priorities, we are creating opportunities to focus in a unified way on the highest leverage catalysts. The goal over time is to orient the network toward all of them, and we're starting one at a time. As many of you know, we've begun by working on those catalysts directly related to teachers' work environment. We mostly think about schools as places where students go to study, to learn, but we forget that they're also the places where more adults go to work than anywhere else. Yet too often schools are not great places to work. And when we engage in that citizen cartography, sourcing all of the challenges and identifying the highest leverage, what the data pointed us to was that 3 of those highest leverage places all related to the teacher's work environment. And so last year, dozens of you guided research, more of you participated in a brainstorming workshop, and yet more are working on 4 project teams to make it better. You all know who you are. But knowing that many more of us will need to engage in this work of creating schools where teachers can thrive alongside and so that their students can thrive is going to take more of us. And so we're inviting everyone who is interested in doing this work to join us in what will become a micro-network focused on teachers' work environment. And today, we're thrilled to launch our second focus as we map out all of those catalysts, this one on early math. We're learning more, and many of you have understood for a long time about the pivotal nature of math in the early years as the foundation of long-term academic success, lifelong learning, and also equity. There are myriad challenges to ensuring that our youngest learners experience powerful, inclusive math. So this effort will be a way to catalyze coordinated, diverse responses worthy of those challenges. The best science distilled from all your perspectives plus thousands more, tells us that if we work together on these catalysts, the tangled, seemingly impermeable to change system can begin to shift. Because, unlike gravity, there is no law of nature that says that we need a STEM teacher shortage, and no law of nature that says that our most vulnerable children should be the least likely to get strong and consistent STEM learning experiences. And second, we're asking you to help us grow the network one final time before 2021. We don't choose our partners, you do. So get ready to scour your networks and feeds and nominate the best, most diverse, most passionate people and organizations to cross the finish line with us in our race to train and retain 100,000 excellent STEM teachers while addressing the underlying challenges of the STEM teacher shortage with our chests held high. It's amazing. No matter how fast he's just run, he always looks like he could run another race, which is fitting because, let's be honest, we're going to need to. We are on track to reach that 100,000 goal on time, and we're going to run through that finish line with our chests held high together in 2021. But the work of solving the underlying challenges that caused the STEM teacher shortage, that work is going to take us past 2021. And because we can't just put 100,000 excellent, amazing humans, STEM teachers, into a broken system and watch them leave as they fall through the sieve at the bottom. We're setting our sights not just on 2021, but on the decade that will follow. We need to continue to go hard at the systemic challenges so that together we can create the thriving STEM teacher profession that teachers deserve and that our planet needs to fuel all of our future problem solvers. We can't do this without each and every one of you. Yes, no, literally, each and every one of you. Each one of us is amazing and necessary to this work. And each one of us is also regrettably, beautifully, humanly, necessarily insufficient. There's an ancient Jewish practice of carrying 2 slips of paper, one in each pocket. On one, it's written, "The whole world was created for my sake. I am powerful without measure, and I can change the universe." And on the other, "I am but dust and ashes. I'm overwhelmed and inadequate to the task at hand." Alone, we are, in turns, amazing and inadequate. But to solve our problems, stay with me, we need to hold both truths simultaneously. The place to do that is in community. When we act in community, as a network, coordinated, diverse, and focused on the opportunities for leverage, our otherwise inadequate but amazing contributions can become powerful enough to dent the universe. Acting as a network doesn't happen on its own. It requires trust and connection. And that connection, it's best built face to face. All true living is face to face. So says a librarian in Susan Orlean's recent book. I think about that a lot when I'm here with you. True living, it's not superficial. It's so easy at conferences and in our work to glide, to just stay at the surface, to miss out on those hidden, deep connections that we know our planet, the universe, the natural world provides. But the kind of community that tilts the universe toward change, the kind of network whose partners, all of you, look at the moonshot of 100,000 STEM teachers and say, together, we'll solve it, that's real. Because to make progress, we need to learn from each other's triumphs and hold each other's brokenness in equal measure. Amazing and insufficient. We need to make space for both slips of paper, which means we need to trust each other enough to be open-hearted. So in a minute, I'm going to ask you to take a leap of faith with me, to turn to someone you don't already know and wade into the current of connection. You might need to look behind you or tap the person who's kitty corner. And when you find that person, introduce yourself and respond to the following prompt. If you really knew me right now, you would know. Keep in mind your 2 slips of paper. Where do you feel triumphant? Where do you experience brokenness? And when you're ready, share. In your notebook, in your bag, there's a notebook. There's space to write and a pen. So take a minute. Give yourself permission to really go there. And when you're ready, find your person and connect. We'll continue connecting throughout the day because these relationships, they will take us today, they will carry us today, and they will carry us to and through 2021. It's always the best to have so much energy in the room to have to say, all right, we're going to come back together because we're all part of what Michelle Alexander dubbed the river of change. You could feel it in each of your connections in this moment of really opening up and being here. I thank you so much for that. So we're all part of what Michelle Alexander dubbed the river of change. What she said is the struggle for human freedom and dignity that extends back centuries and is likely to continue for generations to come. When we connect this way, face to face, we connect to that river, to the river of joy, the curiosity and wide-eyed explorations that propelled us into STEM in the first place. That joy, that feeling of connectedness, of building towards something bigger in which each of us is necessary and insufficient, it's there for us. The challenge is whether we choose to wade in. Because remember, just one touch of nature can make the whole world kin. And finally, last year when we came together, you might remember, teachers in Arizona, Oklahoma, and West Virginia were wading into that river of struggle. And they were fighting for the school and classroom level conditions and salaries that are necessary for teachers to thrive so that their students can thrive. And because each one of us deserves a workplace where we can do the best work of our lives. Their voices were heard, with historic raises in some places and more teachers in legislative positions than ever before. But as with our work on addressing the underlying reasons for the STEM teacher shortage, their work continues. And 1 year later, here in San Diego and in many other cities and states across this beautiful country, teachers are again in that river. Each teacher who joins us today is part of our teacher forum, nominated and selected because of your leadership and commitment to catalyzing change. And in 100Kin10, this is a unique privilege. We are graced not just by teachers who lead today's classrooms, but by some of the most talented educators of the past decades. Will all of you who have engaged in the nation-building work of teaching our country's children, past and present, please stand so that we can honor you and so you can know that we are ready to wade into that river of change with you, arm in arm.